Today we are going to be reviewing Fleet the Dice game, which is coming soon to Kickstarter from Eagle Gryphon Games, designed by Benjamin Benchback and Matthew Riddle. As always, before we get started, be sure to hit the subscribe button. You can hit that bell icon so you never miss an episode. And you can also join us now on Facebook. Just search for us. And we'd love to chat with you, hear what games you'd like us to be reviewing in upcoming videos. Either way, let's get the game set up. And that's it. Honestly, it's a roll and write game. It takes like 12 seconds to set up. You tear off a piece of paper and you give it to people. But honestly, that's kind of the beauty of a roll and write game. You get that board game experience with no setup whatsoever. You're not going to be finding a broken token for this game anytime soon. And in case you're wondering, yes, I made this amazing dice tray. If you want to know how to make this, it's super easy. It's literally a box frame, like a little tray that I got at the hobby store with some craft foam in it. And then I put chair pads on the bottom. But you know what? Honestly, if you want to see a video on how to make one of these things, let me know in the comments below and I'll do it. Right from the start, Fleet is a little bit different than other roll and write games. You're not going to be using a big pool of dice. You're actually going to be having two different dice pools. One that you roll at the beginning of the round, one that you roll at the end of the round. The number of dice that you use in each pool is determined by the number of players. You're going to use one for each player plus an additional die. So, the first phase of the game is the boat phase. The start player is going to roll the dice, they're going to pick a die, and they're going to scratch off something on their sheet that corresponds to the die that they picked up. Then each consecutive player is going to also select a die without re-rolling them until there is one die left. That single die that's left over is going to be available for everyone. Next will be the income round, where you'll gain some coins based on what you've scratched off that will allow you to potentially get some bonus scratch-offs throughout the game, so keeping track of your income is going to be important. Lastly is the town phase, where you will roll the town dice. You do the exact same thing you did before, rolling the town dice, picking a die, each consecutive player choosing a die, and then everyone getting what's left over at the end. Every other round, there will also be a fishing phase, where your launch boats will catch fish, which will earn you victory points at the end of the game. These phases will play out over 10 rounds. So what does each section do? The boat side of things is all about victory points and special abilities that you get for various licenses that give you special abilities such as launching, getting income for launching boats, or being able to change a die side, all sorts of different things that you can earn to be able to help benefit you throughout the game. With the town side of things, you're going to have the harbor, the market, and the wharf. In the harbor, you can start harvesting king crab, which is harder to fill up, but at the end is going to give you like in-game bonuses based on number of boats you've launched or buildings you've completed, etc., etc. In the harbor, you're also going to be able to fill out different types of boats that can hold extra fish or just get you some extra victory points at the end. Then you're also going to have the market. In the market, you're going to get coins based on the number of fish that you have. And as I mentioned before, as you gain coins, every so often each coin that you earn is going to give you extra scratch-offs to be able to scratch off things without needing a die for them. So that's really important to have. Lastly, you're going to have the wharf. In the wharf, there's going to be various buildings. Some of them allow you to re-roll dice. Some just get you a big chunk of victory points. Other ones get you income per full boat. Various different ways to be able to help yourself out throughout the game. Some of them are actually limited, so you can only use them a couple times. You'll scratch them off to show that. Then, as I said, once the 10 rounds are over, you're going to calculate your victory points. Some of your victory points are going to be for completing all of the licenses. You'll have victory points based on the number of fish that you've caught, based on the types of boats that you were able to launch. You'll get victory points in your harbor based on, your king crab, as I mentioned, different boats that you've launched, as well as a lot of the buildings, or most of the buildings, you get a big chunk of victory points as well. And that's it. That's the game. Pretty simple to understand. If you've never played any roll and write games before, the closest I can compare it to is one of my childhood favorites, which is Yahtzee. Essentially, you roll some dice, check some stuff off on a list, hope you made the right decision, except in this case, it's going to be a lot more strategic, especially in the case of Fleet Dice. I think the closest thing I can compare this game to is No Siesta. But honestly, after having played this, once I have a final copy in my hands, I don't see myself getting No Siesta out anytime soon. I much prefer this game for a couple of reasons. While No Siesta is very fun, it feels very casual and rather random. You're like, okay, I'm going to check off some olives. You don't really feel like you're making many decisions. With this game, it is much more intense. It's much more exciting. You're never going to make a casual decision. Every choice you make is going to be important to the outcome of whether or not you win. As far as we've been able to tell from our limited playthroughs, it seems very well balanced. Our games were very close. We never had a strategy that ran ahead and just slaughtered the other person. One of the things I like about this game as well is you never really know who's winning until the very end. It gives you that same kind of sense of, I have no idea who's going to win that you get from Concordia. And what's cool about it too is when you get to the very end, if you lose, you're going to be surprised every time. You're going to think, oh my gosh, I did a great job on this. But I never felt a sense of bitterness. I never was like, oh, I can't believe they won. It was more like, well, what did you do? What strategy did you use? Because you really feel like there's 1,000 ways to win this game, which is one of the things I really like about it. You really want to try out new things. You immediately want to go back, play it again, and see what you can do differently next time. That's one of the things that Kathy liked about this game. With No Siesta, when she played it the first time, she was like, okay, that was fun. I'm ready to play something else. With this one, she immediately wanted to get it back out, as did I, and play it again and try a new strategy and see if we could play it differently. Honestly, this is really one of the first roll and write games that really gave me that board game experience, because every decision I made was so important. As I mentioned before, unlike with No Siesta, you really feel like you're making important decisions in this. You're not just checking off the next olive. You're going, okay, well, I could go here, which would give me a bonus so that I could get some income, which give me an additional action that I could cross this thing off over here. You're building little combos in your head. You're trying to be like, oh, I could do this, and then I could do this, and then I could do this. You want to try and utilize every single turn as best as you can. I rarely had that feeling when I was playing No Siesta, and I know I'm ripping apart No Siesta here a lot. I love No Siesta. I really enjoy that game. I just think this one is that much better. For as little of a box as this game is, and for as simple as the rules are to understand, there's a lot of strategy in here, and I think that's one of the things we like about it most. And as always, with any game, I have to talk about the art. I think it's really solid with Fleet Dice. I think the sheets are really easy to understand. They're nice to look at. The typography is easy to read, which is really nice. Sometimes you forget to use some of your bonuses, but that's just a matter of just not paying attention to what you've been able to do. It's not a fault of the game by any means. My only issue is sometimes at first it's a little bit confusing with the king crab, to remember that that's part of the harbor as opposed to part of the boat actions, but honestly, that's it. Now, for the final version of the game, I would love it if they could utilize this box. I really like that in Tiny Epic Western. They did the design on the inside of the box to make it look like a dice tray. I'd love to see them do that in this. And, it'd be really cool if there was maybe a little boat for a first player token, but again, these are not necessary at all to the game, and it just would be icing on the cake. So, final thoughts. Should you back this game on Kickstarter or get the retail edition when it comes out? Yes, you should. If you can get the Kickstarter version, get it. If the Kickstarter's over, get the retail version. This is a fun game. It's really solid. I absolutely recommend it with no reservations. Anyone and everyone would enjoy it. Kathy and I are actually really sad to have to send the prototype back to Eagle Gryphon. We want to keep it, want to keep playing it, and I want to put it in my game night bag and take it with me. So we're sad to part with it, but we'll be happy when it comes back in. Thank you again for watching the video. If you liked it, hit that like button down below. And as always, have an awesome day. I made this myself because I am a crafty person. God, that's stupid. Energy saver. Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep. The first, this is the worst.